wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance beat. It's on the dance floor. It's where it is. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on the floor. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now, if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on, baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the room takes over you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get all up and move your body. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get all up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on the wind and fire. Just like we've got a groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Like slide or two. Hit the bus stop, I'll do the money now, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on, baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. So it's like the beat is really moving. Start to feel your body moving. Gotta get up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all time. We've been dealing with death, pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat, on the dance floor. Where we'll get on the floor. Get on and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor. Yeah, gotta get on the come on, baby, gotta get on the baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays here on channel GBoo 2786 on Gavin Richard, our backup page, as well as Twitter, and also on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Can we smash up the likes, please? Smash up the likes. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this party started. In the meantime, I want to tell everybody before we begin, I want you to please go, of course, to Amazon.com right now. We have celebrating the release we just a few weeks ago of our book on Kindle. Look, I said our book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in the United States. That is available right now on Kindle, on the Kindle app. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go right here on, we'll put the link in the chat for everyone to go to. Copy and paste it right now as we speak so people can go there in the comment box. Please go ahead and purchase that. If you have not, you're missing out on a fine book. What also helps those that have it already, if you do, I'd appreciate it if you would write a special review on it. We're going to release a paperback edition of it soon. I'll be putting that in the paperback because there are people who still like writing and taking a book with them instead of watching it from their phone. I've kind of switched up. I can do both, but I prefer to just do it from my phone. Like Amazon Kindle has made stuff more convenient for me, reading from my phone or my computer. But everybody is different, to each his own. So I ask, though, if you go there now and purchase it, if you have the Kindle app, support me, please. Also, I've been trying to start and do a tour on Black radio. Back in December, I did something on WBOK. I'll probably try and go back there to do another promotion for the book so anybody on Amazon and Kindle can purchase it. But also what I'm mainly looking for is doing local radios across the country. This is not something that I want just in my market. This is something I'm looking to put everywhere. And it's really for everybody. I have no problem with talking even to white mainstream radio stations, although that would seem unlikely because they don't like to talk about stuff like this, I think, from a positive perspective. If it is positive and shows Bill Cosby in a positive light, or a Michael Jackson, as they did back in the 2000s when Mike was going through his thing. So I don't shy away from it. As an attorney, I'm paid to debate people in court all the time. But with that being said, and also I want you all to go to NawniesCreoleBlends.com, try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawnies goes great with every dish. And someone who can tell you, I know some of you all have already purchased it probably I only know one person who ordered something, and that was Danielle, but I'll deal with her in a second. But other people who've had it, you're going to get your grub on. By the way, here's one person who has had it on some good old delicious turkey burgers. The man with no smile, Mr. Shawn James. Shawn, how are you doing?
I'm all right, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Shawn loves his turkey burgers, and he loves it especially with Nawnies Creole seasoning, right, Shawn?
Yeah.
And
very good on turkey.
Very good on turkey and other things. Now, Shawn, you want to do a promo for your books right quick?
All right. I have a Kickstarter for a comic that I've worked on called John Haynes at Death's Door. And if you want to get a copy of John Haynes at Death's Door, you can, pick up a copy by putting in a pledge on Kickstarter by clicking a link in the chat. This is a 32-page comic where the man who rules the world, John Haynes, takes on the Greek god of death in an action-packed Kickstarter exclusive comic.
That's what's right. That's what's up. Support the brother on his Kickstarter program. I want you to put the link. Send me the private in the chat, Shawn, the link for the Kickstarter, so we can blow that up but y'all do that. Also buy books like Stop Simping in Cyberspace and The Man Crisis. Shawn has authored over 75 books. I'm only on my second, possibly on my third with the topic I'm going to discuss today. And who knows, I might do a follow-up edition to the Cosby book. But those that have it, I ask you to please write a review on Amazon. Those always help. Shawn, of course, he was the editor. He wrote it. He won't leave a comment on it because he'd be biased. But I need you all, if you have purchased it, to go ahead and do it. Let's see. Hold on. I just got that link now to the Kickstarter. Let's go ahead and put that in the comment section. You all got to go there. We got to have more than 11 people watching this. I know ScrewTube is doing their thing. No issues with the sound right now. I think everybody can hear me loud and clear. But since we mentioned Cosby, I guess I was kind of going to start with this actually last. You know what? I'll just go ahead and do it first. Why not? We're going to be talking about, speaking of Dr. Cosby, this is the 1-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, of Dr. Cosby's release from prison, Phoenix Correctional Facility. And earlier today, Andrew White on his Instagram page actually played video, never before seen footage of Bill Cosby when he was released and Andrew was picking him up from prison. And also an interview he did with Frankie Darcell, I believe, out in Philadelphia about that, what happened. But before we go and play that clip, I want to play this clip. If everybody, refresh everybody's memory. This happened. This is from ABC News. This is fair use, by the way. We all remember when this happened, huh, Shawn?
Yes, we did.
We begin with that bombshell news on comedian Bill Cosby. Pennsylvania Supreme Court has overturned his sex assault conviction, and tonight he is a free man. Just hours after the court's ruling, Cosby coming before cameras outside of his home, celebrating his release after serving more than 2 years of a 3 to 10 year prison sentence. Cosby clearly elated to be back home. The man, once known as America's Dad, last seen in public a little over 2 years ago after his conviction. Dozens of women came forward to accuse him, but he was convicted for assaulting just one, Andrea Constant. Cosby remained defiant, never acknowledging wrongdoing, passing up the opportunity for parole, refusing to participate in sex offender programs. Today, the High Court vacated his conviction, saying that he was a victim of a coercive bait and switch by prosecutors. ABC's Ariel Reshef leads us off with the dramatic turn of events.
Tonight, Bill Cosby, a free man, back home, released from a Pennsylvania prison just 12 days shy of his 84th birthday. Moments ago, the comedian speaking to Lindsay by phone.
And nobody had the sense to say, wait 1 second, this doesn't match up with the truth. This is not what I was taught in college. This is not what I was taught at home. Etc., etc.
His 2018 sexual assault conviction overturned today by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court after an appeal. Justices ruling he should not have been prosecuted because of a deal with former DA Bruce Castor that he would not be charged if he agreed to testify in a 2005 civil suit brought by accuser Andrea Constant. Their 79-page decision stating, in accordance with the advice of his attorneys, Cosby relied upon DA Castor's public announcement that he would not be prosecuted. But Castor's successor, Kevin Steele, used Cosby's testimony as a key piece of evidence more than a decade later to file criminal charges against the comedian. Cosby, later convicted of drugging and sexually assaulting Constant, the court also barring further prosecution against Cosby in the Constant case. Felicia Rashad, who played Cosby's TV wife for more than a decade, and his longtime friend tweeting, "Finally, a terrible wrong has been righted, a miscarriage of justice corrected." While Cosby always maintained his innocence, he was dogged by accusations of drugging and sexual assault from dozens of women. Lindsay sat down with him in 2015 before the Pennsylvania prosecutor brought charges as he prepared to speak to students about the importance of education.
Are you concerned at all that, given the allegations, that may overshadow your message?
It's interesting. This is a situation that's unprecedented. My family, my friends, I have been in this business 52 years, and I've never seen anything like this. And reality is the situation. And I can't speak.
The news of his release today leaving many of his accusers stunned and angry.
I'm concerned that women will think that they shouldn't come forward. I can tell you, as somebody who did, it was challenging, it was scary. There were times when I was called horrible names for saying what I said about him.
And supermodel Beverly Johnson saying in a statement exclusive to ABC News, "Today is a reminder that the fight is far from over. We must continue to support and encourage women who have endured sexual trauma and abuse to come forward despite this outcome."
Ariel joins us now live from Elkins Park, where Bill Cosby is back at home tonight. Ariel, his accuser Andrea Constant has just released a statement with her lawyers. Tell us about their reaction.
Yeah, Andrea Constant and her legal team have called this decision disappointing and say it's of concern because it could discourage future victims of sexual assault from coming forward and seeking justice. Lindsay?
Ariel, thanks so much. And now let's bring in ABC News chief legal analyst Dan Abrams. And Dan, I want to read this quote from the DA, Kevin Steele. He said, "Cosby is free on a procedural issue that is irrelevant to the facts of the crime." Explain what that means and how this happened.
Yeah, the Supreme Court here made no judgment about the facts of the case, the underlying truth of what happened here. What they did say is that assurance made by the DA, the first DA, led Bill Cosby to answer questions in the civil case that he wouldn't have otherwise answered. He might have invoked his right against self-incrimination. New DA comes in, says, we want to use those statements, uses the statements, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that the entirety of that was fundamentally unfair, so much so that they weren't going to just order a new trial. They were literally going to dismiss the charges and say that Bill Cosby cannot be retried again for these charges.
And many people are now wondering if this is the end of the road. Does this bar any future prosecution of Cosby?
It certainly bars any future prosecution with regard to these facts. And this was the last big case, meaning this is the one that came in right under the statute of limitations. So it seems that Bill Cosby will not be prosecuted criminally for any of these cases.
Dan Abrams, our thanks to you.
Dan Abrams, that's an ass jackass.
This is an ABC.
Dan Abrams did some slick shit. He got one of his shows canceled on A&E because they withheld evidence or was involved in it. But then they brought him back and he does that show Court Cam. But he's always done sucker shit. Excuse my French. I gotta watch it because well, they're not in the room, but I got my cousins that are here spending the night, spending the weekend. But Dan Abrams, as you know, he's always, when it comes to OJ, when it came to Michael Jackson, when it came to Bill Cosby, he always had something slick to say about black clients. Black celebrities. Have you noticed that, Shawn?
I haven't watched this content, but I know how these kind of guys operate.
Yeah, he operates like a Gloria. Well, I'm not going to say he's Gloria Allred because he's not. To my knowledge, he hasn't done ambulance chasing, but he's more comes off as a prosecutor type guy. I think he's a former prosecutor, but he's really to me, he's a jerk. Because Tom Mesereau did a debate with him on Michael Jackson and the accusations, and you're going to debate with the actual lawyer that saw the evidence, and you just I don't even know if you even reported on it. But nevertheless, you know, this was, I remember this day. I remember Dr. Cosby doing the press conference and was ecstatic to be home with his family. I want to play the clip for everybody in a second. Just of it's a long video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but Andrew Wyatt, shout out to him. He posted this. But Shawn, tell us before I post the video, show the video. What were your thoughts on what happened that day? We did a show actually.
Yeah, we did a show actually that very same day. So
that was the next day.
It was the next day. Yeah, but I was very happy to hear Mr. Cosby was released from prison because he never belonged in prison in the first place. These charges were completely trumped up by a overzealous and I would say fanatical prosecutor who was looking to get his name on putting Bill Cosby in prison. This whole case was just a railroading of an innocent man based on some, again, fabricated evidence that he knew he could not use. So he knew that he could not use that affidavit, but he still used it anyway. And he had the help of a really nefarious judge who just let everything go through because they wanted to put Bill Cosby in prison and make their name on Bill Cosby being in prison. But thankfully, had a Pennsylvania Supreme Court that did release Mr. Cosby and noticed all of the numerous judicial errors we discussed over time. And thankfully, Mr. Cosby has spent a year with in freedom, away from out of the prison system. And I'm glad that he has his freedom back once again, and that the justice system worked the way it was supposed to work. And sadly, it had to take an appeal system to make it work the way it was supposed to work, because Mr. Cosby never got his due process under the law in the lower courts. In the lower courts, they did not give him the speedy trial. They did not give him a fair trial. The judge was biased. The prosecutor was biased. And they picked a jury that basically didn't really go and look at this evidence critically, but the evidence itself was biased. But again, I am really glad that Mr. Cosby has been blessed with a year in the last years of his life with his freedom, and he's got a year in it that he's can go back out here and have in his last days of his life to be free, because that's the most important thing here, is that Mr. Cosby has his freedom. He has all of his rights as a U.S. citizen, and he's doing okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sean. This is the video clip I wanted to share with
in my cell, which I call my penthouse suite, Phoenix correction property, doing 10 years. And I heard that the cell door open. They can be very loud when the people put the key in and slide things back and forth, whatever they do to invade your privacy. And all of a sudden I just hear this yelling, Mr. Cosby, you have to wake up. Wake up now. I said, oh, okay. I'm trying to wake up. And I'm trying to say to myself, what is going on? What's happening? And I just feel hands on me. He said, look, you have to get out of here. You have to go home. You're free, Mr. Cosby. Mr. Cosby, you're free. And I said, well, okay. No, Mr. Cosby, you have to get up now. I mean, these guys are literally giving me what would necessarily, ordinarily be the bum's rush. Well, this is not the bum's rush. This is, you have to get out of here. Mr. Cosby, you are free to leave this prison. And I'm trying to think about, well, I've got some things here that I should be taking with me, or what about this, what about that? But these guys, in a friendly way, no, Mr. Cosby, it was about 3 of them. And so I said, okay, man, let me put on my shoes. I had these shoes, the horrible things, they call them skitties, but they're made more out of plastic chemicals. And I put my feet in. I had my walking out into the area, clothing on. And the shoes that I'm in, it's about 40, 50 guys, I think, it's in a sort of horseshoe shape. And then there's a station for the officers, which one would call the guards. And then there's male and female officers. And the guy comes right in and he puts his face next to mine. He said, "You're going home, Mr. Cosby. So you have to get out of here now." wheelchair. They've given me a wheelchair because of the change of weather, and the superintendent or warden, whatever you want to call them, they don't want me to walk on the ice and stuff, although this is June. But I still have to be in the chair to ride. I have what's called a pusher, oddly enough. And I said, okay, well, notify my pusher. Here we go. No, the major is coming. Now, the major, I don't remember what the official title of this major is, but the major is female, and I found out that she's also Caucasian. So she's coming down now. They just notified her. The word came, and you are free to let you out of here now, Mr. Connolly. I said, okay, man. So I went and sat in the chair outside of what used to be my cell. And the major shows up, Mr. Cosby, congratulations, you're going out. I said, yes, thank you. And then she starts to push me slowly. We're going to make a right turn after about 15 steps, and there's the different doors we have to go through. And this woman is pushing me, and as I leave, I don't hear voices saying, so long, Mr. Cosby, and nothing like that. It was just quiet, and then all of a sudden, I hear this in time, not the kind of applause that you get at the beginning or the middle of your show. This is together, clapping, crap, 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 crap. And then it was all around the horseshoe. Now, I'm totally blind, so I can't see who's clapping, but it sounded like there's only one floor above me. So that whatever that here is, they were clapping there, and then the fellows in the below cells on the same level I'm on, they were all clapping, and that clap, 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 and it was to me very, very moving. And I turned my head back to the major, and then I said to her, this is a little different from driving Miss Daisy, isn't it? And she said, I don't know what you... And I said, well, just look up driving Miss Daisy, and you get a big kick out of what you and I are doing right now. So, as I was leaving, different goodbyes are coming from people. So long, Mr. Cosby. God bless you. And the people saying this to me, I assume, are men I've gone down to the chow hall with, or men I've spoken. I absolutely enjoy meeting. One was called FACT, F-A-C-T.
Okay.
And
I didn't want to play it, like I said, the whole video.
It goes into something
but that's just part of Dr. Cosby when he was released.
I remember chains, wrist, ankle, standing up, lock, unlock, and this time the major takes the chair away, he puts up talking, and I get in the car, and I have a professional driver. His name is Andrew Wyatt. I've spoken to him quite a few times on the telephone.
You know, it's Dr. Cosby obviously is much older than than when we remembered him as kids. But while I was sad to see him placed, as we stated earlier, in that condition that he was in, that hell, he handled it obviously with a lot of grace and humility and patience. And the Supreme Court, in its good judgment, saw that this was, as they said, a coercive bait and switch. And while it did not, quote unquote, address the facts in the case, the problem is that it should have never been a case from the beginning. So when someone's conviction is overturned, as Judge Joe Brown has stated on this program, as I have stated multiple times, that person's presumption of innocence stands solid as a rock, Shawn.
Yes. I mean, he was always innocent until proven guilty. They never really proved him guilty. So that's why when the conviction was overturned, all of his rights were brought back to him.
Right. But shout out to Dr. Cosby on his anniversary. You know, Nelson Mandela did, 27 years in South African prison? Dr. Cosby did 3. And here's the thing. If he was truly guilty, he would have just gone ahead. And first off, he could have pleaded this case out if he wanted to, which would have avoided a trial. He could have, even when he got convicted and he was supposed to take sensitivity training as a sex offender, he could have done that, which would have helped him get parole. He could have gone before a parole board. He chose and elected not to. So what does that tell you?
Tells us all that he was an innocent man.
Yes. And if you think, and that heifer, those women that came on it, especially Beverly Johnson, let me just say this, black women, and this relates to this whole Roe v. Wade thing. You all better quit with this feminism crap. Because it's isolating. Not only is this type of stuff dangerous, it's causing men are actually seriously not considering getting married and procreating because they don't want to deal with this bullshit. They don't want to deal with this anti-male sentiment that's going around in this nation and in this world. Men are moving to different places. They're moving to different countries because they feel they could get something better than the American woman right now, Shawn. Yeah. And women like Beverly Johnson, Janice, she's dangerous. Beverly Johnson even did a movie with Bill Cosby. We talk about that in the book. After this, so you, ma'am, he attempts to sexually assault you. He drugs you. He throws you in the cab, doesn't do anything. And then 5 years later, after this incident, you do a movie with him. Robert Townsend, the media man. Even though they didn't have lines together, why would you do a movie with him? Why you didn't say nothing then? Bill Cosby worked that movie for nothing, by the way, Shawn.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything more to add, but if you agree with me, get that thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. You agree with me, Shawn?
I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We got Computer Robots, Derek Bailey. Shout out to you. Danielle is always here. He says some black women out there, you need to stop with the feminism. These white feminists don't care about you. All they care about is making everyone miserable and making money off of the expense of black people, no doubt. People are caught up in their emotions so much, Shawn. You can't even have an intellectual conversation without somebody cursing you out today.
That's
if you mention something,
the way people are.
Yeah, and if you mention, they're caught up in their emotions. They're emotionally driven. And you're going to see in a little bit, especially when I talk about our next topic. Let's get into it. The big news yesterday. I think you have a video. I don't know if you have a video dropping on this, but R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison in federal court up in New York. This happened on Wednesday. I have the article here from the prosecutors from Reuters. The prosecutors in the case actually said that they felt R. Kelly deserved more than 25 years in prison. And according to this, I'm putting this up here. I want to share this all with you. Now, I'm just on Google. I had the article up, but look at the list of articles and the headlines, especially when it comes to R. Kelly. Now I got to always do a disclaimer. This is also another thing showing how sensitive we are. If you do, I have to do a disclaimer when talking about this, because if it looks even like I'm just saying that someone's due process rights were violated or that the government overstepped, someone will be upset and emotional and all in their feelings. But you see this here. MSNBC News says R. Kelly gets 30 years in prison thanks to Black women's advocacy. R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years in prison for federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Racketeering. Now, this is the issue that I had with that, is that R. Kelly was sentenced to a RICO statute. Prosecutors had asked the judge to sentence Kelly, who's 55, to more than 25 years behind bars, while his defense attorneys asked for 10 or fewer, saying prosecutors request to tantamount to a life sentence. Survivors of R. Kelly's abuse held hands and prayed as U.S. District Attorney Judge Ann Donnelly began reading his sentence. Kelly, who wore a tan prison uniform, dark-rimmed glasses, and a black mask at the hearing in federal court in Brooklyn, showed no emotion. You left in your wake a trail of broken lives, Donnelly told Kelly, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly. In deciding the sentence, Donnelly said she considered Kelly's own traumatic childhood, during which his attorney said he was repeatedly sexually abused by both a family member and a landlord. The judge said it may explain, at least in part, what led to your behavior. It most certainly is not an excuse. Javante Cunningham, a former backup singer for Kelly, praised the sentence, saying, I started this journey 30 years ago. There wasn't a day in my life until this moment that I actually believed that the judicial system will come through for Black and brown girls. I stand here very proud of my judicial system, very proud of my fellow survivors, and very pleased with the outcome. Is this person even a survivor of R. Kelly? Supposedly. Is this a child molester? Is this a woman who was molested, claims to have been molested by R. Kelly? Now, back in September, they sentenced R. Kelly on one charge of racketeering and 8 counts of violation of the Mann Act, which is a sex trafficking law. They said that prosecutors from the Eastern District of New York accused Kelly of using his status as a celebrity and a network of people at his disposal to target girls, boys, and young women for his own sexual gratification. They even brought in witnesses who said they were sexually and physically abused by Kelly. The court also heard from people involved with orchestrating the disgraced R&B singer's marriage to Aaliyah when she was 15 years old and he was an adult after she believed she had gotten pregnant. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bogine, said he would not address the court, pointing to the other criminal case faced by Kelly, but said before sentence was read that her client rejects that he is this monster. He accepts that he is a flawed individual, but he is not this one-dimensional monster that the government has portrayed and the media has portrayed. Kelly made his only comment in response to the judge after Bogine said he wouldn't speak. Bogine said she advised Kelly not to speak at the sentencing because of pending litigation, but added he has regrets and he is sad. Nobody wants to hear what he heard today. Now, There was also someone who's apparently, they say, threatened R. Kelly, threatened the prosecutors in an R. Kelly case. A man named Christopher Gunn, who was arrested Saturday for alleging posting threats to kill or seriously injure the female prosecutors. According to the arrest warrant, Gunn posted video to his YouTube channel in October after Kelly was found guilty that showed an image of the U.S. Attorney's office in the Eastern District of New York, where the women work. Prosecutors believe a voice narrating the video is Gunn's, and he says that's where they at, that's where they work at. We're going to storm the office, saying each of the three prosecutors' name. If you ain't got the stomach for the shit we about to do, I'm asking that you just bail out. Now, let me stop there. Let me tell you about this sensitive stuff. So, how we have people driven by their emotions. Now, if you don't know, R. Kelly is appealing this verdict. He has Jennifer Bogine working on this, and that's because Bogine is handling this case, and she's handling Bill Cosby because she sees there were some appealable issues in it. Now, look at this. This is on my Twitter page. Now, Shawn, since we've had this conversation, did I once ever say R. Kelly is a good man?
No, I don't think you did.
Did I ever say that what R. Kelly is accused of, I defended?
No.
Okay. Did I ever say that it's good for a man to commit the crimes that R. Kelly did?
No, you didn't.
Alleged should have done. Now, let me show you what I did. This is what I wrote on my Twitter page. You can all see that right here. I said, while I am not a fan of R. Kelly, of what R. Kelly is accused of, and I have my issues, I have a problem with him being sentenced under the Racist Man Act and overzealous prosecutors that apparently overreacted here. There's a strong chance he could succeed on an appeal. Now, who is Gavin Richard? Who am I, Shawn?
You're just one guy. You're just an attorney on Twitter.
But you said the key word, an attorney. I have experience in criminal law, correct?
Yes.
I have experience in contract law, correct?
Yes.
So I know a little thing about what appeals are, correct?
Yep.
So would you think my opinion weighs more than, let's say, a non-attorney that comments on Twitter? What about you all in the chat? Do you think my opinion holds more weight than someone on Twitter, a troll who hides behind an avatar, a lady's avatar at that?
It would hold more merit.
It would hold more merit, more weight, correct. Now, you read here one gentleman who said he disagreed. He said R. Kelly, Weinstein, Epstein, Maxwell, and similar cases are politically calculated prosecutions. The results are predetermined. Number one steps out of line, risk career overturning any more than NFL hearing officers risk it by not suspending D. Watson for a year. Now, sir, I have no idea. I respect the fact that you respectfully disagree. You're entitled to your opinion. However, your opinion is jumbled. Whatever you've wrote here, I don't really understand mumble jumble. You? Can you follow? Can you follow this, Shawn, what he's saying?
It really doesn't make much sense. It's all feelings as I see it, because there's no real facts based on the evidence of the case, which is what everybody has a problem with R. Kelly, is that they get in their feelings about what they hear he was alleged of participating in, and they don't think about the law, and the charges that have been presented against him.
Right. Now, we're going to look more into this. Now, I scroll down here, some people agree with me. Overreacted is an understatement. And let's focus on this one tether. Now, her name is Making It Big. And if you can look at her avatar, apparently, and her followers to the following, she apparently has not made it big. Now, she's from Haiti and lives in Canada. Now, only in America where people use skin color, this is what she said in response to me, to justify why someone shouldn't pay for his crimes. R. Kelly should have been in jail the day this video of him posing on this minor got out. You lot don't value little black girls' lives, and it shows appalling.
She's in her feelings about the
She's
allegations.
certainly not in her grammar.
Yeah. She's not really thinking critically about the case or the evidence or the facts that were used. She's not thinking about how the Mann Act was used to railroad R. Kelly. She was just in her feelings about the allegations, and that's what the prosecutor used in this case.
Stop. Well, let me stop you for a second, please. I want you to hold your thought, okay?
All right.
I want to go back now. I wanted to just finish what I was saying here. Now, I said you must get your eyes checked, ma'am. Nowhere in this post did I say that someone's skin color gives them an excuse for crimes. The job of the government is to prove a case based on the written law. Seeing that you're from Haiti and in Canada, that may explain your ignorance. Well, I think it is. She says your idiocy is showing. It was proven that child porn videos were found in his position. Found in his position. The whole world has been able to see that man who was pissing on a child a few decades ago. The fact that he paid the witnesses didn't mean he couldn't be tried again for the same offense. Okay, stupid. Now this is did you see in the article that I shared with you, Shawn, as well as in the bill of indictment, R. Kelly is on trial for child pornography in New York, in that federal court, was being sentenced for child pornography.
There was no that was not even recorded. That's not in the record.
That has nothing to do with this case, what happened in 2008, correct?
No.
Not one thing. Now, finish your opinion. I had cut you off earlier.
Well, I was making an observation regarding this woman's being in her feelings, and that's the way I think a lot of people are about R. Kelly. They got in their feelings about the previous allegations of his inappropriate sexual conduct, and they're not really understanding that the charges that are being brought against him, and they're basically going on their feelings about previous past events and not really trying this case on the basis of law. I mean, when you go to court, you have to try a case based on the law, and it really was not really done here. They tried this case first in the court of public opinion, and then people got in their feelings about R. Kelly. So your R. Kelly has not really gotten due process under the law. He has not really gotten a fair day in court, and like Mr. Cosby and many others, he's being railroaded, and people don't see how they're being manipulated by those who are just out here looking to just get a conviction on R. Kelly so they can have something on the books.
Shit. Thought that was James Brown Jr. at first.
Excuse me for a second. I'll be right back.
This is Make It Big. This is what she had to say to me. So she wanted to be big. We're going to make her big tonight, guys. Now, I went further talking with her. She said, the fact that I'm from Haiti and Canada, I don't know a Haitian accent, has no bearing on the fact that I followed the case. Explain why you think videos of him having sex with underage girls isn't proof enough for any of you crying foul. There were no videos played at his trial. He was on trial under RICO. That's the racketeering statute in federal law that they used to get him. That's what they used. RICO is what they used to go after the Italian mafia. You know, with Rudy Giuliani, how he made his name in the 80s. You remember, probably if you are from New York, and Shawn is from New York, I'm sure he knows about this, guys. Paul Castellano, Big Paul, was the mafia don under Carlos Gambino. They really never could get Carlo Gambino, and they created statutes for guys like him, although it really started, the RICO
And now I'm
statute
back.
started in the 60s. I was just telling everybody, Shawn, about the RICO statutes
Yeah.
and how they were used to go after the Italian mafia. And I mentioned some mafia bosses I know you would know up in New York, like Paul Castellano and John Gotti, as well as Carlo Gambino, who was the boss of the Gambino crime family for most of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It was meant to go after him, the Russell Buffalinos of the world and so forth, or the underworld, I should say. I don't think they had rock stars in mind when they made it.
No, it
And,
wasn't meant to go after entertainers.
right. And for that matter, if you go after him, I mean, Ray Don Chon just talked about the fact, and it came out that when she was 15 years old, she had sex with Mick Jagger.
Why aren't they going after him?
Well,
Or the estate of Elvis Presley? I mean,
right. I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We know what he did with his cousin.
Yep.
Woody Allen has always been accused of stuff. But this is because they're triggered. And that's the point of this. This is triggered. So I responded. There were no videos played at his trial. He was on trial under RICO. You didn't follow it enough, and you're trying to match wits on legal procedure with a criminal defense lawyer. Good luck. And you see the witch stopped.
Yep.
Ding dong, witch is dead.
Whenever you present facts to some people, they just shut down.
Yeah. I could get very nasty with her, but
it's not worth the time.
It is not worth the time. I can see that I would just be beating up on the helpless. What's up, Frank?
They would just drive you into a circle. They would have you going into a circle, into a back and forth.
Yeah, then get me banned on Twitter.
Yeah, the best thing to do is just leave them.
Yeah. So what I was talking about, so you see stuff like this, you got to beat them with facts. Now, of course, she was not the only one, because shout out to my brother R&B Forever, 1814 Jaleel, who said, I'm sure you were still stepping in the name of love right after that. Cut the BS. Someone else wanted to go at it with me. Some fool tweeted this stuff. He retweeted my post and said, and I had to respond, I have no problems with them using any and every racist law to get a community menace out of our community. I don't know why some black people, men and women, hate black girls so much. If you can sing, dance, or rap, good mofos will forget everything. See, okay, so I'm going to address this right now, because it's fools like this that are dangerous. Marcus, I got kids to feed. Now, you ever notice with the trolls, the people that respond negatively, it's always, if you look carefully, you notice it says they always have more, they have less followers and more that they're following.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Now,
I think these guys just go looking for trouble.
Attention horse.
Yeah.
Attention horse. This is exactly what this is. 2 girls, dad, and 1 prince. United States Army, United States Air Force veteran. Okay, an atheist, anti-Trump. So this explains a lot. I'm an atheist. Okay, you're an atheist. Anti-Trump and all things MAGA. So that tells me already where he leans to. But nowhere in this post, again, because you're talking with your emotions, your panties are all up in a bunch. You know, my little cousins who are 11, 12 years old can actually hold intellectual conversations and not get this emotional, not have to lie and stretch out stuff to make them their arguments work. That's what women do. And this is a man doing this. Nowhere in this post, Shawn, when you read this directly, do you see me saying, and I'm going to ask you all in there, do you actually see me saying that I hate black girls. Do you see that in this post, Shawn?
No.
Did you see? I'm sorry?
I see this guy, this troll, just making straw man arguments.
A straw man argument, yeah. Did you see me say, well, because R. Kelly can sing, dance, or rap, he shouldn't go to jail?
No.
Did you say I would forgive him for what he did?
No.
All I said was, let's read what I said. Go back and read the tweet. While I am not a fan of what R. Kelly is accused of, meaning I find what he's accused of abhorrent. You know what the word abhorrent is? Well, that may be too big for people like you, sir, and also James Brown Jr. But what that means is I am not a fan, and maybe I shouldn't call it James Brown Jr. because that would be an insult to James Brown. He was a black American, a foundational black American. But I can't think of. But nevertheless, I'll just call you Wookiee. How's that? No offense to the Wookiees in the Star Wars universe. But while I am not a fan of what R. Kelly is accused of, I explain what abhorrent means, but I'll just say it in words you can understand. What he did is bad. What I find what he did was bad, or alleged to have done is bad, and I have my issues with it. Yes, I do have a problem with him being sentenced under the Racist Mann Act. Now, we went over this. What is the Mann Act? The Mann Act was a law that was used by the United States government in the early 1900s to go after certain individuals, but one in particular. It was named in response and created after Congressman James Robert Mann out of Illinois. And that law, ladies and gentlemen, was to go after one person, and his name was Jack Johnson. And if you know who Jack Johnson is, for those that are not astute to history, and if you're not astute to history, you deem, unfortunately, to repeat it, Jack Johnson was the first African American first Black American to win the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep. And Jack Johnson's wife
That's
was a
Jack Johnson and his white wife, Lucille Cameron, in 1912. And they sentenced Jack Johnson, who was then the world heavyweight champion, while he was right after he got married on a train, they arrested him. That's what they did to Jack Johnson. And if you read the language of the law, that law basically, and it should be, it's want for vagueness. For one thing, it's overly broad. They had to, instead of just outright getting it, they limited it. But it says, originally in its purpose, they said, if you transport any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purpose. You know how broad that is?
Very vague.
In its original form?
Yeah.
Today, every man would be locked up if you took your girlfriend out to Florida. Let's say if I live in Louisiana, if I went outside to Mississippi or Texas, Arkansas, any state, I could be prosecuted. Criminalizing consensual sexual behavior between adults. And by the way, just on that, while I believe personally everybody has a right to do what they want in their bedroom as long as it's consensual and not against the law and God. Remember, your rights stop where mine begin. Life begins at conception. I'm going to throw that out. Be responsible. Don't lay up with people. Don't lay up with a woman you know you're not going to love and you're not going to be with. Men, that's for you men and women. Don't hold your legs open for men you're not going to stay with, please. I know sometimes things in life happen, but don't take it out on the kids. It's called responsibility, right, Shawn?
Yeah.
We need more of it in this time. We need men to be responsible. We need women to be liable, to be accountable. Men have to be responsible and accountable as well. I'm talking both sexes. I'm not limiting anybody. I got to do another disclaimer, but I guess that's how sensitive we are, Shawn.
That's how fragile people have become.
That's how fragile people have become. So you have other people that were commenting, one troll talking about he's guilty, all the videos. This is not about what happened in 2008, but people are triggered. But I, as an attorney, saw, and I had people I went over the trial transcripts myself. I went over and talked with the reporter that was there, Dennis Byron, who even said how the judge was allowing some things almost similar to Cosby in a sense, but you had one woman who was not even taken across state lines, but in R. Kelly's home of Chicago, in Chicago, in Illinois, and yet they still, on that charge for her, I believe, found him guilty. But there was no transportation under the Mann Act. There were a lot of, and it was brought, and that's why I said there are a lot of appealable issues. And Jennifer Bongine, who was on a couple of months ago on the Black News Channel, which is now defunct, or the Black Negro, Buck Negro Coons, as I call it, because you had these Negroes who are on there who said the most vile, despicable things, especially about our Black elders, that are out of touch. But nevertheless, she went and explained to Yodit, I believe is her name, and she's actually a Facebook friend. Yodit is a lawyer. But we know where they stand with these stuff. She explained to her why, and to the audience, what was going on, why we have this, why we have due process. This was her interview.
New York-based attorney Jennifer Bongine has made a name for herself by taking on high-profile yet unpopular clients. She famously represented Bill Cosby on his appeal before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court concerning his 2018 sexual assault conviction, which ultimately got overturned, and Cosby walked out of prison a free man. Now she's taking on a new client, R. Kelly, who was convicted in September of sex trafficking by asking you the most obvious question, one I'm sure you get all the time. Why would you defend R. Kelly?
I approach every case the same way. And I look and I say, has there been a miscarriage of justice? And in my mind, a miscarriage of justice occurs when the government oversteps, when they overreach, when they violate someone's constitutional right to a fair trial. And then I ask myself, is there anything I can do about it? Can I possibly get this individual some type of remedy, some type of relief? And when I looked at R. Kelly's case, I found that both of those things were true. And so I had no reservations about taking R. Kelly's case. What I see was a travesty of justice and how the process worked. And when the process doesn't work, the outcomes are not fair, they're not righteous. And as a result, I took R. Kelly's case. And I pass on cases, but this is a case that I felt satisfied both of those requirements.
And that's because you think that the government abused the RICO statute in order to get around issues of statute of limitations, right? And so for people who may think I'm talking legalese here, there were accusations for decades against R. Kelly. Those accusations, cases, whatever it may be, were old, and so they couldn't be tried in a court of law. But to get around that, prosecutors use this statute, the RICO, which most people would associate with like big drug lords, to get around that in order to get R. Kelly on these charges. That's what you're talking about when you're talking about a miscarriage of justice, correct?
I mean, it's more than that. First of all,
and Yodit is a lawyer. She knows what she's doing when she's asking these questions. She's a lawyer herself. And you can tell when you look at her, she's leaning towards the prosecutors. That's how these shows are set up.
over whatever crimes they believe that he committed. Now they didn't do that many times. We know there was a case back in I think the mid-aughts out of Cook County, and he was found not guilty of that case. But the government could have brought charges, and they chose not to for whatever reasons. And now they have brought charges against him under RICO, which yes was designed to get at criminal enterprises, mafia, large drug operations run by gangs. And they are doing that, yes, to plead around the statute of limitations. But even more problematic in my mind is they use this statute in order to overwhelm the jury with other crimes evidence or other bad act evidence. It doesn't even have to be another crime. So really what they're doing is putting someone's life on trial. And that ends up being not really a fair fight. It's one thing to defend against a specific charge, that is fair. But when you bring in these crimes, these alleged crimes under the RICO Act, you're really putting someone in a position where they have to defend 30 years of their entire life. And that I think is not a fair fight, because it doesn't give, you don't have fair notice on what they're coming at you with. There's allegations that date back 30 years. And there are sometimes it's very difficult for particularly high profile people, 30 years. So do I even know this person? Where was I? How can I defend against that? So it's not a fair fight. And then they brought claims under the Mann Act. And the Mann Act has been historically problematic, and it was no less problematic in this case as well. I believe that the government misused those statutes in order to gain convictions against R. Kelly that were not fair. And there's much that the jury didn't hear that they should have heard.
Jennifer, I'm a lawyer too, so I understand what you're saying, and I'm able to think about this in a logical, obviously legal way, setting aside my emotion. But for the lay person, the person that's watching right now, and who's watched our coverage of R. Kelly's trial, who believe that he's finally being held accountable for abusing Black women and girls, they don't care about a fair fight, right? They be creative. They're probably thinking, hey, however way the government can do it, they finally did, and it's done. I don't care. Explain why it matters to everyone ultimately that we essentially, there's a checks and balances when it comes to prosecution.
Yeah, that's right. And I can appreciate that there's emotions that run high, and people don't necessarily value how the government goes about getting what they consider to be justice. But when the government runs amok, right now it's R. Kelly, tomorrow it's somebody else. And maybe it's someone you care about tomorrow. Maybe it's a loved one of yours. To keep the government honest and to keep them in check, the system has to work for all of us, the R. Kellys of the world, the Bill Cosbys of the world, and then people that we don't even know. And so my job is to make sure the government does it the fair way. And if they didn't do it fair, it just doesn't count. It's like if you cheat during a football game and you want to declare victory, you can't because you cheated. And it is my job to hold the government responsible and to hold their feet to the fire. And I believe that was not done. It hasn't been done, but we're hoping to do it.
So, I've had this conversation with colleagues for years. And in fact, we had a conversation about it on the show a few weeks back about the blowback that attorneys risk facing from the public over who they choose to represent. I get tweets from viewers asking why I keep inviting certain lawyers who represented less than desirable clients. And of course, that question that we all get, defense lawyers get, how can you defend a guilty person? I'm curious, how would you respond? What would be your response to that question?
Well, I first of all, let me start by saying that that is a general question I get all the time. I don't know whether it's specific to R. Kelly or not, and I'm not here to, I don't trust the verdict that came back in R. Kelly's case. So I'm not going to say he's guilty until I believe that there was a fair process. I don't rely on verdicts where the process was not fair. So let me make that clear. I do not believe that the verdict is a reliable indicator of whether R. Kelly is in fact factually guilty. But to your general question of, how do you represent unpopular people? How do you represent people that the media has already convicted? How do I represent them? I'm a defense attorney, and that's what I do. And I believe to my core that the government needs to be held needs to be held accountable. And when they don't go about this process in a fair and just way, that is a miscarriage of justice, and it affects all of us. And I guess I just really believe in that principle. It just doesn't matter to me whether it's R. Kelly or Bill Cosby or any number of wrongfully convicted people that I have represented over the years. It just does not matter. It's all the same to me, because if the system doesn't work for one, it doesn't work for any of us. And I guess I'm just really focused on that principle. And it doesn't, my view is if you're a defense attorney and you can't get with that idea, and then maybe find a different career. It is really one of the fundamental tenets of what we do.
I like how she's that 80s retro business executive look Miss Jennifer has, huh? Jennifer looks like a school teacher in this one. She looked like the woman that kissed RoboCop when we were fixing. Remember, she kissed him in the
I remember that one.
At any rate, Shawn, but she told him find a new career.
Yep.
That's why we have this. Did you want any final thoughts on it?
Well, when it comes down to R. Kelly, I mean, yeah, what he did in his personal life was absolutely disgusting. But even absolutely a guy who's participated in some disturbing behavior has rights in this country, and under our Constitution, he is supposed to get due process under the law. And I don't believe he's gotten due process under the law with the way they have railroaded him using this Mann Act. And I have to say they manipulated this Mann Act, because that's not what this was intended to do. I mean, R. Kelly, as I see it based on the evidence, was not participating in any sex trafficking, and he wasn't out here with an organization out to go and recruit women. I mean, R. Kelly, for all intents and purposes, was broke. And how does a broke man go out here and participate in racketeering? That's a question that his attorneys should be asking when they do the appeal. They should be asking the critical question: how does a man who has finances in the red participate in racketeering? I mean, that whole case that would get the charge overturned, as I would see it if I was the judge. And I would see this case as basically you trying to railroad this man and possibly participate in some double indemnity by trying to charge him for charges that were already dealt with in a 2008 criminal case that your R. Kelly wound up getting acquitted for. So when I look at this whole case of R. Kelly, it really is one where I believe he does have a shot. And this whole sentence thing is completely backwards, because Ghislaine Maxwell gets 20 years, but R. Kelly gets 30 years. And Ghislaine Maxwell participated in far more heinous things, but your R. Kelly is punished to the extreme for charges that don't even relate to the case. And that's really troubling, because it shows that our criminal justice system really has some people in it that really don't really understand the law. So I think R. Kelly will, if he goes on appeal, he might have a really strong chance, and he might possibly wind up winning his appeal the same way Bill Cosby won his appeal.
All right, I'm sorry. We timed out a little bit. Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. We'll monitor this, but this essentially is a life sentence for R. Kelly. If it upholds, he likely wouldn't get out. I think you got to do full time in federal prison unless you get out on good behavior. And 30 years, he'd be about 85. But then you got the other charges he's dealing with. I believe, in Minnesota. And here's the thing: all of this starts with a documentary. Remember, it was the case against Cosby. It was the Women Speak. Remember when Russell Simmons, they had a documentary we're trying to do on him. Oprah was sponsoring that. You also had with R. Kelly, you got Surviving R. Kelly. You had all this, you got all these docu-series. You had the Leaving Neverland. Let's not forget that. You notice that, Shawn? Everything is a documentary.
That's what I call docuganda. It's propaganda disguised as a documentary.
I call it a mockumentary, like that W. Kamau dumbbell bullshit.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Our final topic tonight, ladies and gentlemen, researchers make an interesting discovery concerning Emmitt Till's kidnapping. I spelled Emmitt wrong. It's with an E. I apologize. E-T-T. But Emmitt Till, of course, we know, sadly, was the young black child, I should say, 14 years old, who was lynched by two devils out in Money, Mississippi, where he was visiting his uncle Moses Till for the summer vacation with his cousins. And a discovery was made earlier today by a research team in the courthouse in Mississippi. Now, we go to KMBC News for this. Fair use, ladies and gentlemen.
Emmitt Till is pleading with police to make an arrest in his 1955 lynching because of newly discovered evidence. The 14-year-old was abducted, beaten, and murdered by a white mob, spurred by a false claim that he made some sort of sexual advance towards a white woman. Now, a team searching the basement of the Mississippi courthouse for evidence about Till's lynching found an arrest warrant that was never served.
It was meant for Carolyn Bryant, the woman who made the claim about Emmitt Till. The warrant charges Donald with kidnapping. Till's relatives say it amounts to new evidence, and they want authorities to finally arrest her.
I'm sorry, I don't know why it ended that quickly. But essentially, the family of Emmitt Till want this arrest warrant executed onto your Carolyn Bryant Dunham, who was the center of this story. And of course, the story was Emmitt was abducted and tortured and lynched. His body was found floating in the river a few days after his disappearance, and an all-white jury found her husband and her brother, I believe her husband and her brother-in-law, not guilty, although they admitted that they did indeed kill Emmitt Till. Roy Bryant, we'll see if we can. There's a marker here. This is the Bryant grocery store as of 2009 where Emmitt Till visited. There's a marker here for the grocery store. His body was found in the Tallahatchie River, tortured, brutally beaten, his eye gouged out, with a cotton gin tied to his neck, wrapped in barbed wire. They sold their confession to Look magazine. Roy Bryant was the husband of Carolyn Bryant. He's deceased. And his cousin, I believe, the other man that was with him, what's his name? Give me the name. If everybody knows, can you? I should know this stuff off the back of my hand. But that's what they left and did to Emmitt. And his mother, Emmitt Till, wanted an open casket because she wanted the world to see what they did to her boy, her only child. And until she died in 2003, Emmitt Till fought very vehemently to have Emmitt remembered. His death, sadly, was sadly the catalyst that sparked the civil rights movement. I say sadly because he died, but I guess if you want to say that a positive thing that came out of it was that Emmitt, it sparked national interest in the civil rights movement, and it caused people who thought differently about Black Americans to think twice. By the way, the other man's name was his half brother, J.W. Millam. Now, even allegedly, I've heard that there were also Black folks involved in this too. I showed you video of that. We've talked about this before, but what has happened in this recent development is that an arrest warrant for kidnapping was put out for Roy Bryant, J.W. Millam, and Roy Bryant's wife. That's how the warrant actually read. And this warrant was unserved on her because the sheriff at that time did not want to bother Miss Bryant because she had 2 young children. Because she had 2 young children, he didn't want to execute what a judge had signed off on. So sheriffs can do whatever the hell they want. This is the actual affidavit here. Hold on, guys. This is the affidavit of arrest. This is the warrant. From Amsterdam News, you can see it right here. It says, to the sheriff of said county, Greenwich, state of Mississippi, county of LaFleur, we command you to take the body of J.W. Millam, Roy Bryant, and Mrs. Roy Bryant, if to be found in your county, and safely keep, so that you have him before our county court at the courtroom thereof in the city of Greenwood on the instanter 19, I don't know, they scratched this off apparently, on the charge of kidnapping. You see the state seal right there. Now, she was never arrested. And a warrant, they're correct. When it is signed by a judge and it's legal, it does not expire. However, whether they will enforce it is another thing. Now, statute of limitations, I don't know what a statute of limitation is. Unfortunately, the charge here lists kidnapping, not murder, right? So murder has no statute of limitations. I don't know what the charge of kidnapping, the statute of limitations in Mississippi is, but universally, murder is, there's no limitations on it. You can bring it up even to 100 years from now if that person by chance happens to be alive. Now, I want to show you all something. This is, before we get back to this, I want to show you this. And Shawn, I'm going to let you comment, but I want to show you guys this article right here. Now, you see this here? You see the warrant for the arrest, but I want to show you this one. Look at this. Nazi trial. 100-year-old SS guard in court in Germany. This is from October 7th of 2021, last year. Joseph S., who was 21 when he first became a guard at Sachsenhausen in 1942. And this is the oldest defendant so far to stand trial at 100 years old. The point being, ladies and gentlemen, Carolyn Bryant is not old enough to go to prison. Bill Cosby had to go to prison at 80 years old and blind. At 85, her ass can go too. At 90, her ass can go too. If they can arrest a 100-year-old SSS guard and try him in court in Germany, you don't think the state of Mississippi could bring charges against her?
They could definitely bring charges against her.
If they chose to. But I put this there for a reason. Now, he's got the folder up because he doesn't want his face seen. These are some of the survivors of the Nazi war camp. But they sentenced all of these guys. They're still trying these Nazi war criminals. They're 100 years old. They're on oxygen tanks. They're in wheelchairs. They've seen better days. But guess what? They're standing right in front of a tribunal. Shawn, go ahead and speak.
Yeah. Well, what's really troubling here for me about Carolyn Donham's arrest warrant not being executed is that it shows me how gynocentric your Jim Crow was. And this white female basically instigated, and I'd say incited, the whole incident that led to the murder of Emmitt Till. And yet the sheriff, wanting to defend a white female, didn't even think about handing out this arrest warrant, which shows me how, one, gynocentric Jim Crow is, and how, two, your Jim Crow was truly a system that was based on not only bias about race, but was also biased towards white women, because this woman, who again incited this whole incident and led to the murder of Emmitt Till, they don't even think to go out here and hold her accountable. No, they give her a pass, and that pass was sitting there for over, I'd say, about 70 years as related to the murder of Emmitt Till. And she was supposed to be brought to justice, but they didn't want to bring her to justice because she was a white woman, and white supremacy goes out of its way to protect white women. But now that we know that there was an arrest warrant filed against your Carolyn Donham, I believe that that arrest warrant needs to be executed as soon as possible. Because just like you stated about the Nazi war criminals being brought to justice, we need to bring the woman who instigated the incident that cost a 14-year-old boy his life. We need to bring her to justice, because if it wasn't for her goading her husband and her brother-in-law, Emmitt Till would be alive today. If it wasn't for your Carolyn Donham starting everything, Emmitt Till would be alive today. So she is just as accountable for the murder of Emmitt Till, and she needs to be punished for her part in the murder of Emmitt Till. And I believe that she deserves first-degree murder, because had she not been the one who started everything, Emmitt Till again would be alive today. And that's why this woman belongs in prison, as I see it right now.
And this isn't at the trial. That's her with her head on her husband's shoulders.
Yeah.
This slime bag.
Playing Miss Innocent, even though she was the one who started everything.
I heard she was promiscuous.
Yeah, I know. She's hypergamous. She was after she got these guys' lives messed up, she monkey branched to another man. She just ran from guy to guy, and those guys didn't even know they were being played.
Now, if you listen to this, LaFleur County Sheriff Ricky Banks, the current sheriff, said, "This is the first time I've known about a warrant." Banks was 7 years old when Till was killed and said nothing was said about a warrant when a former DA investigated the case 5 or 6 years ago. If he could get I will see if I can get a copy of the warrant and get with the DA and get their opinion on it. Banks said if the warrant can still be served, he would have to talk to law enforcement officers in the state where Dunham resides. Arrest warrants can go stale due to passage of time and changing circumstances, and one from 1955 almost certainly would not pass the muster before a court, even if a sheriff agreed to serve it, said Riley K. Restock, a law professor at the University of Mississippi. But combined with any new evidence, the original arrest warrant absolutely could be an important stepping stone towards establishing probable cause to initiate a new prosecution. If you went in front of a judge, you could say once upon a time, a judge determined there was probable cause and much more information is available today, Reichlach said. The only problem, of course, is the passage of time. I get it. And I know arguments they will likely try to make. But this was a kidnapping that led to a murder. This was a lynching. And if the clerk had asked the sheriff to do it and they failed to execute it, then what would have happened normally in circumstances like that, that sheriff could be in trouble for contempt of court because you failed to execute a warrant that was issued and signed by a judge, by the clerk. You were supposed to execute this and you made a discretion not to.
Yep, he also insubordination. If you look at it from a court's perspective, you didn't want to execute a warrant after the court ordered.
And so far, as we know, this hoe has been living her life to the fullest. She's still alive and quiet. This old bag.
Yep.
That's her there.
Yep. She's lived her whole life, and
Emmitt never lived his. What about Emmitt's kids? Emmitt could have had children. He's not going to be a father. He didn't get to be a father. He didn't get to be a husband. Emmitt Till, that was her only child. What we need to do, that county, that's LaFleur County in Mississippi. LaFleur County, Mississippi. Let's see. Where is that located? What city? It's Greenwood. It's named after Choctaw leader Greenwood LaFleur. Where they agreed to cede his people's land to the United States in exchange for land in the Indian Territory. That's the courthouse. So y'all know what we need to do. We're going to have to do a rally. You know what? I'm tired of doing marches. We're not going to rally. We're going to call. We're going to email. We're going to write. We're going to fax. We're going to put pressure on this district attorney that he execute this warrant that was fair, that was not properly done in 1955 by their sheriff's office at that time due to their racist, bigoted behavior.
Yep.
We're going to fight for this. I haven't forgot what happened to Bobby Charles. We don't hear too much about it, but I know the attorney. I'm going to try and bring him back on so we can learn more. Yeah, she lives in Raleigh. Bring her ass to justice. Bring her ass on. They do. If they can get these Nazi war criminals at 100 years old to stand and face trial, they made Bill Cosby go to jail in prison on bullshit charges with no evidence. You know what you can do with this one. And you got Till's testimony when he said he heard a woman's voice pointing out Emmitt. That's him. He said this in court. Let's do what Emmitt Till fought to do for her child. First thing tomorrow, I'm calling the district attorney's office. I'm going to email. We're going to ask them, and be polite. Be polite, please. But and all you got to do is simply tell them, whoever the DA in LaFleur County is, let's look and see who that is right quick. The district attorney in LaFleur County. Let's see. No, not Oklahoma. Dwayne Richardson. Oh, we're gonna make sure this brother. We're gonna make sure he hears from us. You can fill out this form here and send it to him too. But inundate them with calls, ladies and gentlemen. Serving Washington, LaFleur, and Sunflower County. So this is the LaFleur County DA, right? Yeah. So that's how you contact them. Send them an email. Go to the website right here. Let's put the website in here. We want a full investigation, but forget a full investigation. If we can bring charges on her, we want this warrant executed. We already know what happened. The story has been told for the last 70 years. It's time to mete out justice the way justice needed to be meted out 70-something years ago. Well, actually 67 years ago for Emmitt. I got nothing more to say.
Well, I say that, yeah, she needs to be prosecuted. If this warrant is still good because it was signed by a judge, it wasn't executed, and it needs to be executed because this woman needs to be punished for the murder of Emmitt Till. And I say she needs to be punished more than anyone because, according to recent reports, she was the one who started everything, so she should be held to the fullest extent of the law.
And bring her ass in chains like they do our people.
Let her do a perp walk. I mean, if former Nazi soldiers can be brought to justice, then this woman needs to be brought to justice because she participated in a crime that was just as heinous as anything a Nazi did.
Yes. Yes. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Support Shawn James and his Kickstarter program. Buy books like Stop Simping in Cyberspace. I do have one final comment, Shawn. I was an off-topic thing. Ketanji Brown Jackson nominated to the Supreme Court. I think we've talked about her before. I've seen some people are excited about this because she was sworn in as the first Black Supreme Court justice, and now they have 4 women. They got a Jewish woman, there's a Puerto Rican woman, there's a conservative white woman, a Catholic woman, and now a black woman. And they feel that it properly represents diversity on the Supreme Court. What do you say to that?
I say that there's no diversity. All it is just an empty symbolic gesture, and your Ketanji Clown Jackson is not representing black women. No, Ketanji Clown Jackson can't even figure out what a woman is, and this is just to make it look like they're doing something on paper passively, but aggressively. All of these Supreme Court justices they have picked all have the same viewpoints, and all of them are anti-black. So none of them are really for black people. So your Ketanji Clown Jackson is no different than a Clarence Thomas, and this is nothing to celebrate at all because it's not going to bring the tangible of justice to foundational black Americans.
Yeah, I say it's the same thing. I'm not really impressed with it. I mean, I understand for young black girls who are going to see that, they look at it, they only think of the symbolism aspect of it. But she is a woman who can't, if she can't even define women, I don't know how young girls can even look up to her for that. That's a problem I have. You couldn't define woman. Have you checked your Did you check your what's down there, ma'am?
I doubt she did.
Yeah, that was just stupid. It's a simple question, and I've had people say, well, no, they don't usually ask that. They ask them any questions that's relevant to what they would do on the Supreme Court. They ask people about their personal life. They do it all the time. It's a straight question, and you know why it was coming up was because there was a precedent or case that was pending in the court about this transgenderism thing that's going on.
Yeah.
That's why it was asked. There wasn't nothing wrong with it. Huh. Tired of this crap. You want to promote your books again, Shawn, before we get out of here?
All right. Well, my Kickstarter for the first John Haynes comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is now available on Kickstarter, and we have passed the first stretch goal. So we have got the project fully funded. We're past the first stretch goal, and right now I'm getting ready to put together the second stretch goal. So if you want to be a part of the Kickstarter and pick up the first John Haynes comic book, you can click the link to the Kickstarter that is going to be posted in the chat. So you can be a part of the Kickstarter for as little as $5, because $5 will get you a digital copy of John Haynes at Death's Door, and you can get your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door by putting in as low as a pledge of $5 for the John Haynes Kickstarter.
We got that already in the chat for everybody.
All right, good.
What's up, Sir Leo? Please, guys, you see my ticker at the bottom. Donate to the Cash App, the PayPal. The Cash App, of course, is GavinRichardEsq, $GavinRichardEsq there. That is Shawn James. You can support him. Thank you, Shawn, for coming on tonight. I want to ask you, if you want to, Shawn does his YouTube channel on his YouTube live stream on Friday nights. Do you know what your topic will be about tomorrow, Shawn?
My topic is going to be about a woman who attacked her baby daddy when he was trying to bring his son some food. So
McDonald's.
The McDonald's incident. So that's what the topic's going to be about on Friday night.
You know what he could have done? He should have brought the kids McDonald's, however, even more petty. He brought them all McDoubles, and then he brought his son Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, that would have been a knockout blow.
Yeah,
but I'm going to be talking about that in depth because I know a little bit about where that boy was and where his father was. So I'm going to be talking about that in depth.
Right. All right, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Please donate to the Cash App. Also, purchase The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. on Amazon and Kindle. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Share this video. Also, if you like to advertise, you see our email there. If you want to join the Patreon, too, to see content not on YouTube, that's right there, too, as well. Let's see. Of course, we have our songs like Video Soul, Video Soul that is available on iTunes and Spotify. And of course, we have our Creole Seasoning Blend. And our final song that we always play every night is Gotta Get On Up. We're going to get on up and get out of here. Shawn, thank you again.
Thank
and
you.
It's been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents. And look, it was under 2 hours.
Awesome.
On Gavin Richard Present, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you all in the next one. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll live. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Like now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on and move your body. Cause the beat is really moving. It's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the room. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four chorus. Electric slide on two. Hit the bus stop, I'll do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Not 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide a step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll get the groove. Get on the floor. Get on and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on, baby. Yeah, gotta get on. Come on, baby, gotta get on. Baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor.